Well, as many predicted, authoritarians in New York City have begun to create a caste system when it comes to those who've taken one of the experimental mRNA COVID-19 jabs and those who have not. And the reality of it is on video. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. Well, on June 9th, journalist Tara Sapansky posted on her Twitter feed first-hand video of her approaching a free outdoor concert being performed by the New York Philharmonic Orchestra in Bryant Park, a public park. It's tax-funded, it's in New York City, and it's a green space that's supposed to be open to everybody. Well, sadly, that wasn't the case. For when Sapansky approached the medieval-looking stone balustrades delineating the lawn of the park where the concert was being held from the outskirts of the park, she encountered a printed sign reading "Vaccinated Entrance" with an arrow pointing to a makeshift gate and uniformed gatekeepers standing there. And like an invading corsair, Sapansky was intercepted by one of these guards, where she got the details of the new class system being imposed by tax-consuming New York City government officials under the Burger King Mayor de Blasio. Here's how it went.
What's the rule?
If you go into vaccination, you can enter. It is probably over in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, so you have to be vaccinated in order to go into the lawn, to the public lawn?
Yes, that's correct.
How perfectly medieval, how perfectly Dark Ages, how perfectly feudal of that guard and of New York City. You know, in the medieval era, the concept of class coalesced around the sad lot of European serfs living as rent slaves to the royally connected upper classes. The concept of class is a feudal one, and it's not supposed to exist in the United States because the United States never had a monarchical system to separate the royally connected and the privileged and those not privileged and not tied to the rulers. Well, it's a different time now, of course, and thanks to the expansion of government, those tied to the political rulers and those who please the politicians, they are privileged, while the rest languish as second-class serfs. Added Sapansky in a follow-up tweet, quote, "There's a PCR test entrance on the opposite side too. So it's vaccine card or PCR test to get inside the public park lawn to see the outdoor concert. Isn't the park owned by the city? So the Philharmonic can set rules on public space?" It's worth stressing for all the politically connected COVID propagandists out there that this was an outdoor event, which makes one wonder if New York City will execute such measures each time the seasonal flu approaches. This is a public park, meaning it's tax-funded, meaning it opens the door to the tragedy of the commons, which is the economic problem encountered when private ownership of something isn't allowed, and when tax money is taken to support something. It forces taxpayers with differing interests to fight one another for control of that resource, and often it sees mismanagement of the resource, as everyone tries to either use it first or they block others from using it the way that they don't want it used. Now, private systems don't operate this way because higher demand signals private property owners to shift the use of their property to cater to that higher demand, thus allowing people to show their value and allowing for variation. Bryant Park might be pretty. It might contain stone construction reminiscent of the Dark Ages, but it also operates under a Dark Age, feudal, central control class envy system. A system that, as many freedom-minded people warned, now has embraced the idea of punishing taxpayers who have not deemed it wise to get one of those experimental mRNA gene jabs. The feudal class system of the jabbed and non-jabbed is a natural outgrowth of the political class system in which we have the controllers and the controlled, the tax eaters and the taxpayers, the rulers and the ruled. And on the flip side, we have heroic rebels like rocker the Reverend Horton Heat, Van Morrison, Eric Clapton, and other musicians who openly resist by playing private concerts or calling for the end of lockdowns and jab passports. Contrasting their freedom philosophy with the mindset behind COVID-19 abuses, from lockdowns to hypocritical politicians breaking their own unconstitutional and immoral orders, to the sketchy ways that the unconstitutional NIH and CDC have operated for decades, we can remind people all over the world that government isn't their friend. It never will be. And perhaps the most important thing, we can remind them that people have a right and a duty to oppose tyranny. Thank you so much for believing in principle, everybody. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. Please share the videos with everyone and head to Rumble. We've reminded many people, and we've gotten some wonderful feedback from the folks who have gone to Rumble. Lots of good numbers over there, and they're rising every day. And if you get the opportunity, please go to MRCTV.org, where you'll find the entire team. Lots of new stuff every hour being put out by amazing writers. They're just great people. And I just am happy to be working with everybody. And and by the way, you can find us on Facebook, on TikTok, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.